Boot camp mornings were brutal sweat, dirt, and barked orders cutting through the air. But the real sting came when the recruits laughed at one man. A single dad with rough hands and tired eyes, mocked for being too soft to last here. They had no idea that when he peeled off his shirt, the tattoo inked across his shoulder would leave even the female commander frozen mid-step, because it wasn't just any tattoo. It carried a story of sacrifice, loyalty, and a kindness that couldn't be mocked. Before we dive in, drop a comment with where you're watching from. And don't forget to hit subscribe for more videos like this. Let's begin. The sun beat down hard on Fort Branson's training ground, where recruits grunted through push-ups in the dirt. Among them was Michael Carter, a 32-year-old single dad with a calm face that seemed out of place in a crowd of chest-thumping 20-year-olds. His uniform clung to his back, soaked in sweat, yet his posture stayed steady. "Hey, old man," one recruit sneered. "Didn't know daycare dads signed up for this." The others laughed, their voices echoing off the barracks. Michael didn't react, he just kept doing his push-ups. Inside, his chest burned, not from the exercise but from the memory of his little girl, Sophie, smiling at him that morning before school. She was the reason he was here, pushing past exhaustion, swallowing the mockery. He wanted to give her more than survival. "Carter, you're too slow." The drill sergeant barked. "Pick it up or you'll be peeling potatoes tonight." Michael pushed harder, veins bulging, his jaw clenched. He refused to give them the satisfaction of seeing him break. But when the recruits lined up for sprints, one of them, a tall guy named Ryan, tripped and fell hard, twisting his ankle. The same group that mocked Michael stepped back, smirking, unwilling to help. Without a word, Michael bent down, grabbed Ryan's arm, and hoisted him up. Ryan winced. "Why the hell are you helping me?" Michael's voice was low but firm. "Because one day you'll need someone to carry you. Don't forget that." The air shifted. For the first time, the other recruits went silent. From across the yard, Commander Olivia Brooks, a decorated 35-year-old officer with sharp eyes and a reputation for breaking egos, noticed. She'd seen recruits fight, argue, and quit. But rarely did she see one mocked man stop everything to help the same people who tore him down. Still, her expression stayed cold. "Back in line, Carter," she barked. "This isn't charity work." Michael nodded and returned to his place, but something flickered in her eyes. She'd recognized something in him, discipline that couldn't be faked. That evening, as the men showered and joked about Michael, he sat quietly at his bunk, sketching a small picture for Sophia Sunflower, her favorite. His body ached, his pride had been bruised, but his heart stayed focused on the reason he endured. What he didn't know was that his tattoo, hidden beneath his shirt, would soon silence every insult and force Commander Brooks to confront a past she thought she'd buried. The next morning, the recruits lined up before dawn, breath hanging in the cold air. Boots pounded against gravel as the sergeants barked orders. Sweat and adrenaline mixed into the fog of exhaustion. For most, it was survival. For Michael Carter, it was survival with purpose. Every stride, every push-up, every mile was for Sophie. Today's endurance drill is where we separate the men from the boys. Commander Olivia Brooks' voice thundered across the field. She wore her cap low, her eyes sharp and calculating. The recruits stiffened. No one wanted to be on her radar. The order was clear: a 4-mile run through mud, obstacles, and icy water pits. The kind of drill designed to break the weak. From the start, the mockery returned. Ryan, his ankle taped from yesterday, limped beside Michael. "You don't have to stick with me," Ryan muttered, guilt laced in his tone. "I know they'll laugh at you again if you do." Michael glanced at him. "Let them laugh. Just keep moving." By the first mile, the laughter came. "Look at Dad babysitting his new buddy," one of the recruits called out. "Maybe he'll sing you a lullaby at the finish line." Michael ignored it. his jaw tight. But when Ryan stumbled into the mud and nearly fell face first into the pit, Michael caught him by the arm again. With one arm supporting Ryan, Michael used the other to claw his way through the freezing sludge. "Move it, Carter." "Sergeant." Daniel screamed. "You'll never make it dragging dead weight." Michael pushed forward, teeth chattering, his body screaming for rest. He thought of Sophie's little voice on the phone the night before. "Daddy, promise you'll come home. Strong, promise me you won't give up." That promise burned hotter than any insult docked by mile 3. His shirt clung to him, ripped from the barbed wire crawl. The recruit slowed, gasping. Michael, still holding Ryan upright, staggered into the final stretch. And that's when it happened. His torn shirt slipped off one shoulder, exposing the ink that sprawled across his upper arm and back. A black-inked eagle carrying a wounded soldier in its talons, with a date etched underneath. The tattoo wasn't fresh, it was faded, marked by scars that told their own story. Commander Brooks' steps faltered. Her whistle dropped from her lips. Her voice, usually cold as steel, cracked for the first time. "That tattoo," she muttered under her breath. She knew it. She'd seen it before. Her memory shot back 6 years to a battlefield overseas. She'd been pinned down, blood seeping from her shoulder, surrounded by chaos. A soldier had carried her out under fire, refusing to let her die in the dirt. She never knew his name. All she remembered was the eagle tattoo across his shoulder, as he shielded her with his own body. And now, here it was again, on a single dad being mocked in front of her. "Carter!" She barked suddenly, her voice trembling more than commanding. "Stop!" The recruits froze, confused. Michael turned, his chest heaving, mud dripping down his face. "Yes, ma'am?" Her eyes locked on his shoulder. "Where did you get that tattoo?" Michael stiffened. "I don't talk about it." The recruits exchanged bewildered glances. "What's so special about a stupid tattoo?" One of them muttered, but Olivia's tone sharpened. "Answer me, Carter." His gaze hardened. He wanted to stay silent, but the weight in her voice pulled something out of him. "It's a memorial," he said finally, "for the men who didn't come back." Her throat tightened. She knew what that meant. She'd been one of the ones who did come back because of him. The recruits started whispering, the laughter gone. Respect replaced mockery, though none of them yet knew the full truth. The drill ended with silence instead of jeers. Back at the barracks, the men kept their distance from Michael, their earlier insults curdling into unease. Even Ryan, now sitting on his bunk with his ankle wrapped, looked at him differently. But Commander Brooks wasn't done. That evening, as Michael sketched another sunflower for Sophie, Olivia entered the barracks. The room snapped to attention, but she waved them off. Her eyes went straight to him. "Carter, outside, now." The recruits exchanged wide-eyed looks as Michael followed her into the crisp night air. The stars above felt heavy with secrets. "You were there, weren't you?" she demanded quietly. "Kandahar, 6 years ago." Michael's chest tightened. He hadn't spoken about that day in years. "I don't talk about it," he repeated. Olivia's voice cracked. "You carried me out. I never saw your face, but I saw that tattoo. I owe you my life." Michael's jaw clenched. "Ma'am, with all due respect, you don't owe me anything. I lost brothers that day. That's all I remember." For the first time, the ironclad commander's eyes softened. She looked at him not as a recruit, but as a man who had once been her shield. "You're not here because you're weak," she whispered. "You're here because you've carried more than any of them ever will. Don't ever let them mock you." Again, Michael stood silent, emotion storming behind his calm expression. All he thought of was Sophie, and how she deserved to know her father wasn't just a man mocked in the mud, but someone who had once carried others through fire. As they stood in silence, Olivia added one final line. "Tomorrow, I'm going to make sure they see who you really are." And for the first time since joining boot camp, Michael felt the tide begin to turn. The bugle call jolted the recruits awake before sunrise. By the time the sun bled orange across the horizon, the entire camp was assembled on the parade ground. Boots scraped, voices murmured, and tension thickened the morning air. Michael Carter stood in line, like always, quiet, steady, his face unreadable. The others shifted nervously around him. Yesterday's discovery of his tattoo had silenced their mockery, but now curiosity buzzed. They didn't dare laugh anymore, not when Commander Olivia Brooks' eyes had lingered on him with something no one had ever seen. Respect. Eyes front, Sergeant Daniels barked. Commander Brooks has an announcement. Olivia stepped forward, her uniform crisp, her presence commanding. But her gaze found Michael first, then swept across the rows of recruits. Boot camp is about breaking down egos, she began, her voice cutting sharp through the air. It's about seeing who has the guts to rise when the world grinds them down. Some of you think strength is how loud you can shout or how fast you can run. You've mocked one of your own for not fitting your shallow definition of a soldier. The recruits stiffened. Whispers cut off instantly. Her finger pointed, steady and unflinching. Carter, step forward. Michael hesitated, then obeyed. Boots crunching against gravel. He stood before her, mud-stained uniform hanging loose on his frame, tattoo hidden once more beneath his shirt. Olivia's voice dropped lower, but every word struck like a hammer. This man isn't just a recruit. Years ago, in Kandahar, I lay bleeding in the dirt with the enemy closing in. I thought it was my last moment on Earth, and then he carried me out. He shielded me with his body, refusing to let me die. His brothers didn't all make it home, but I did because of him. Gasps rippled through the line. The cocky laughter that had once filled the air turned to stunned silence. Michael's eyes stayed fixed on the ground, his jaw tight. He hadn't asked for recognition. Olivia took a step closer. You mocked a man who has already given more than any of you understand. He's not weak, he's the strongest among you. And he's still here, not for glory, but for his daughter. That is what real strength looks like. Ryan, the recruit Michael had carried through the mud, looked down, shame burning across his face. The others swallowed hard, their arrogance shattering. Olivia's eyes softened just a fraction as she addressed Michael directly. You saved me once. Let me say this in front of everyone. You are the reason I'm alive. And I will not let them forget it. The silence was deafening. For the first time, Michael raised his head, his voice steady and clear. With all due respect, Commander, I didn't save you for thanks. I saved you because it was the right thing to do. That's all. Her throat tightened. He didn't seek honor, only truth. Then something unexpected happened. Ryan limped forward, breaking ranks. Carter, I was wrong, he said hoarsely. I mocked you when I should have been learning from you. You carried me when no one else would. I'll never forget that. The others followed, one by one, voices murmuring apologies, nods of respect replacing smirks. For the first time, Michael wasn't standing alone. Later that evening, as the sun dipped behind the barracks, Michael sat on the steps, sketching again. This time it wasn't just a sunflower. He drew Sophie standing tall, holding his hand. Both of them beneath a rising eagle. Commander Brooks approached quietly. She must be proud, she said softly. Michael smiled faintly. She doesn't know the details. Just that her dad's trying to be better. Olivia hesitated, then reached into her pocket. She pulled out a small patch, an eagle insignia, worn but preserved. This was from that day, she admitted. I kept it as a reminder. But it belongs with you. Michael took it, his fingers trembling slightly. For the first time in years, his eyes stung, not from shame, not from exhaustion, but from recognition. Thank you, ma'am, he said quietly. She shook her head. No, Carter, thank you. The weeks that followed changed everything. No longer mocked, Michael became the quiet anchor of the unit, the one others turned to when drills broke them, when fear set in. His kindness, once ridiculed, became the very strength that kept them moving. And when graduation day came, Sophie sat in the stands, her little hands clapping wildly as her father marched across the field. She didn't know the full story, not yet, but when Commander Brooks paused mid-ceremony, her voice carrying across the entire base, and said, "Some heroes don't ask to be called heroes. But today, we honor one." Sophie's eyes widened, pride radiating across her face. Michael Carter stood taller than he ever had, not because of recognition, but because his daughter finally saw him the way he always hoped she would, not as a man mocked in mud, but as a father who carried more than his share and never stopped giving. And in that moment, he knew this was only the beginning.